If you have trouble admitting when you might be wrong, take a walk with me. The reality is, this shouldn't be a particularly difficult task, but it's become one of the most difficult things to do in modern times. As you do the work on yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, that need and desire to be right becomes less and less. You begin to outgrow that version of you that has to be right all the time, or that has to make other people wrong so that you can feel good about yourself. We tend to cling to certainty like it's an act of safety. We subscribe to ideologies like it's oxygen. People will often repeat the things that they've heard, and not because they've investigated them fully, but simply because it validates your pain, your past, and your experiences. We also allow it to tell us who we are and give us our place in the world. And what I find most interesting is that people are here to argue, not necessarily to advance the conversation. In fact, if we create meaningful dialogue, it becomes a threat, because it forces you to think through and navigate your own belief system. In order to avoid the holes in our own logic and reasoning, we have to make other people wrong, which becomes a barrier to connection. I want you to ask yourself, what has being right ever gotten you? What relationships have you ruined in the name of truth that tends to change every 4 or 5 years? What parts of yourself have you lost or abandoned in order to belong to a system or a group that doesn't really know you and at the end of the day doesn't really care? It just feels that way because you're sharing your pain, your trauma and drama bonding. We've created a world where it's so much easier to take on a dozen labels than to ask the question, who am I, without all this noise? I've coached authors, filmmakers, CEOs who actively wear all of these labels that were placed or spoken over them, but they can't answer the question, who am I without all of that? You have to remember, there was a time period before people spoke limitation over you. I've also coached a lot of people who follow every rule, they check every box. And like you, they still feel completely lost when they break that script. It's easy to call a lot of the things that you do healing, but it's often a distraction from the actual healing work. It's easy to confuse knowledge with wisdom. It's easy to mistake medicating for mending. And of course, there's a lot of different treatments and modalities out there that do help. If you listen to the Blueprint podcast, we talk a lot about all of this stuff. But what we don't talk about enough is how easy it is to just check out of the system, to ignore all the low-hanging fruit that would actually propel you forward in your life, to do all the things that you know that you should be doing, but it just feels too overwhelming to even get started. Cue all the people that say, that's just my ADHD. And trust me when I say, I'm with you on that, but we still have to live our lives. We still have to get things done. We still have to keep moving forward. And while labels may help you understand pieces of you, it's not the whole picture. And it's certainly not meant to be your whole personality. But there's a lot of things that you didn't learn when you were younger. There's a lot of skills that you haven't taken the time to develop. It wasn't present in your life, and you didn't even know until recently that it was something that you were supposed to take care of for yourself. And a really valid question becomes, does the 9-year-old really have ADHD, or does the parent just not have the emotional capacity to deal with the child? We end up handing our well-being over to pills, ideologies, programs, and influencers, instead of doing the hard work of becoming who we were always meant to be. Eventually, you get to a place where life invites you back home to you. You unplug from the algorithm and step back out into nature. You choose to move your body and to let go of the ways of this world. We make peace with who we've been and release ourselves from the shame so that you can become who you were always meant to be. You stop expecting other people to fix your problems for you. You stop trying to win every argument and you start asking yourself, why does any of this really matter? After all, we all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to be understood and to be truly known. That who we are, as we are, is enough. But no one can do that for you because that's your work. That's your responsibility, and it's time. Not because the world told you so. And sure as hell not because I told you so. but because you're tired of not actually feeling free to be authentically you. And I'm certainly not perfect. I've never claimed to be. I'm in the same position as you are, trying to see things more clearly. I'm choosing to see myself and the world as it actually is without any expectations. I'm choosing to see the beauty in the darkness and the joy in the pain. It's the duality of life that always coexists. And I know everybody's stuck on choosing sides, but this is actually choosing wholeness. It's about choosing self-compassion, truth, and emotional maturity over projection and performance. And yeah, maybe there's a cost to speaking up, but I feel like there's a bigger cost to staying silent. So many people are tied up in their politics and they don't recognize that you don't get to take that with you. And we all end up in the same place. And for the time that you've been gifted on this planet, you get to choose how you show up in this world. You're free at any moment to choose a different path, to start over, to build the life that you've always dreamed of, and to make a pivot, to acknowledge the real impact of your choices and your indecision as well. If you don't like the way things are going in your life, then it's time to make a shift. It's time to choose your pivot. It's time to get intentional and recognize that you can rebuild and you can become who you were always meant to be. The only difference between you and someone else who's living the life that they truly desire is that they believed that they could, so they did. Everything else is just your own limiting beliefs. And I know that last one can feel like a gut punch, but I have a challenge for you. Try being a connector for a change instead of a disruptor. You just might find that when you seek connection and collaboration, opportunity tends to present itself. If you're ready to make that change, then it's time to join the Self-Discovery Blueprint. Use code Blueprint25, and we'll see you inside. You know where to go.